All right, everybody, welcome back to the Travi Wavi. I am your affable host, Travis Eason, and once a week on Thursday mornings, down here at the Neon Parrot Live Studios next door to Majestic Coffee Shop, I bring you wicked awesome guests, people, characters from the storybook capital of America, right here in the 325 downtown Abilene, Texas. We would love for you to come down and join our live audience any Thursday morning. My show is followed by The Breakdown with Ben, where you'll get some wonderful sports casting from Benjamin Fair. Well, today, I'm sorry I wasn't here last week. We had a couple guests that weren't able to make it, and so I just took the week off and went to Oklahoma City with my girlfriend, and it was wonderful. This week, I bring you an amazing person, somebody that I've known off and on through the years, John Mark Lapham. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
I'm going to give a little bit of a bio on John. He's an award-winning animator, designer, and editor with over 10 years' experience creating music, videos, commercials, product design, and other digital works. John Mark, welcome to the Travi Wavi.
It's wonderful to be here.
Man, I'm really glad that you're here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
So the first question I ask most of my guests is, do you have any siblings?
Yes, I do, actually. I have one sister and one brother.
Tell me about them.
My sister, she lives in Round Rock.
Okay.
And she is 17 years older than me, so we have never lived in the same house together.
Okay.
Then my brother, he's 4 years older than me, and he lives on the West Coast up in Portland.
Very
or
cool.
sorry, outside Portland, Oregon.
Awesome. So you're the baby.
Yeah.
You're the baby.
I
Do you
am the
stay in
baby.
touch with your siblings?
Yeah.
They're supportive of all your work?
Yes, they are.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So currently you are in a band called Mean.
Mean, M-I-E-N. Yeah.
M-I-E-N, and it's been pretty successful for you. You guys just got back from a European tour in April. Any stories from that?
It was actually a really fun experience. I don't consider myself a performer naturally. I'm more of a studio person, so I have to actually be pushed onto stage and doing the whole tour thing. I don't live to tour by any stretch, but it was actually a lot of fun. We started in England and then moved over to France and the Netherlands. We did a huge festival in the Netherlands, which was a lot of fun. And then we went to Germany and ended up there and played a show in Berlin and a couple other places, Munich.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, it was an adventure, a lot of driving, as most tours are. And yeah, we're still a band, so we didn't kill each other or anything.
That's great.
So
that wasn't your first tour, though, was it?
No, we've been over to Europe before. We played a couple of shows here in Texas, and then we did a few in Europe about 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
And then we have another tour coming up just in a couple of weeks. We're just the West Coast this time. We're going to play a few in California, Oregon, Seattle, and up to Vancouver.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And I think I probably first met you years ago somehow through Brandon Carr and the band The Earlies, maybe.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it, at least in my mind, that's where it all kind of connects.
Yeah. The Earlies was my first band, and Brandon is the singer of The Earlies. And we're not really active really anymore, but we are doing a reunion show in October. We're going to London and playing one show there. So we're reforming for one night.
It's very cool.
But I think I met you. So I was living in Rochester, New York, between 2011 and 2013, thinking I'd escaped Texas forever. And then I came back here again, thinking I was only going to be here a couple of years. And I've been here ever since. But I met you probably, I think, shortly after I came back from Rochester.
Okay.
So probably around 2014 maybe, or something like
that. So you've been stuck back in West Texas.
Yeah, I've stuck myself back here.
Yeah, but you've been working and doing lots of things. What are some of the projects that you're currently keeping occupied with?
It's a real mixed bag. I just work freelance, so it changes every day. But right now, there's a streaming channel called Night Flight, which is sort of a they were active in the 80s. They were on the USA Network in the 80s, and they show a bunch of like music videos and cult movies and stand-up comedy and documentaries, usually music documentaries or art documentaries of some sort. They are now a streaming channel that you can just get on your smart TV. So I make their social media videos and some other random projects that I do for them. So I'm busy working on some clips for them at the moment. And then what else am I doing? I'm doing some stuff for Mean to promote our upcoming tour. And then I do some work for KUTX in Austin for the NPR station in Austin, Texas. So they have a show they do every year called, or a couple times a year called AT Explained, where they explain random weird things about Austin that people ask, questions, popular questions people ask. So I do some animations and some artwork for the show that they put on. So I'm working on that right now as
That's
well.
very cool. I don't want to get into this too hard, but I would be remiss if I didn't discuss AI a little bit and how much it's sort of encroaching on those of us that are creatives in the work that we do. What are what are some of your thoughts about what you're seeing, what's coming out, and do you have any fear around that, or what are some of your thoughts about all that?
Hmm. I can see both sides of it. Like I can see why AI is helpful, and how it's changing things. It's changing things really rapidly. I'm definitely fearful for artists or creatives in any sense, because it seems like anything that is remotely creative or that you create out of nothing can easily be replicated with AI and for free. And for someone who's trying to make a living off of doing creative work, it is worrying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. So you just have to adapt. Like any new technology, you have to learn to adapt and kind of strategize the way forward, knowing that that's coming. Because, like I said, there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
So, yeah, I think I probably need to find a new job soon that doesn't require any amount of creativity.
Well, I'm hoping that, as human beings, we will continue to find ways to stay creative and not rely on some other sort of artificial intelligence to tell us what's interesting.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
do you have any fears or concerns about putting work out there on the internet and then it being fodder for artificial intelligence and not getting any credit for that?
Honestly, it's not something I've thought about a whole lot. I'm not terribly worried about it. I think just the whole movement itself is enough to consider or worry about. Like I'm not so worried about my little contribution being absorbed into the machine. I mean, like I say, it's inevitable. So
It's inevitable, he
yeah.
says. We're going to quote you on that in the future. So tell me about I mean, you work in a lot of different mediums, and you said you enjoy being in the studio. So what's sort of your process like? And if you could kind of create the perfect day for you for your creative work and outlets, what might that look like too?
Um, it's kind of hard to say because it's always changing. Because like some of the work I do is audio based, because I'm still making music, and then some of it's animation, and then some of it's just straightforward editing, and some of it's graphic design. Like I've designed album covers and things like that. But I think for me, I mean, I enjoy making my own schedule and working in my own space, but it's not something that I feel is essential. Like if I got an actual traditional job, I'd be happy with that too. But for right now, the way I'm working, like I like, I start in the morning, and it's nice having different jobs to hop back and forth into. Like I mean, depending on what my workload is like, I'll start on something in the morning. Like this morning, I was working on I'm doing an animation for a friend of mine for a project. It's a little soon to talk about it, so I can't really say what it is, but I'm doing an animation for an upcoming project. And so I was just starting to collect some images for that. And then this afternoon, I'm going to be working on the KUTX stuff and also some stuff from my band. So I sometimes I work from bed. Like I have a pretty relaxed morning. Like I just have my laptop there and I can just sort of work on it leisurely in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I have one of my rooms in my house is my actual studio. So I go work in my studio and just kind of do that throughout the day and sometimes into the night and work really late at night. So.
Do you have like a prompt for yourself to kind of get motivated to get started, or is it just sort of like you're just in this flow and the next thing that you're going to work on just sort of seems natural to you? Or
Yeah, it's all depends on the work at hand. Like most of the things I have are that I have in front of me are deadline sensitive in some way. So I have it's pretty easy to prioritize things, but yeah, it just depends what it is and when it needs to be done and how urgent it is or how much despair I'm feeling at that at any given moment. Like I always go through that. I mean, I think a lot of creatives go through where you start on something and you're like, well, at the very beginning, you're like, you're kind of into it because it's new and the possibilities seem endless. And then you start getting into it and like you inevitably you always there's always some rough patches or things where you're not exactly certain how to proceed, and that's when you start feeling the despair, like, oh, actually I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm a fake and this is just all not going to work out and it's all useless, I'm wasting my time, and this is going to be a failure. And then you just kind of soldier through that and you're like, oh, actually I do kind of know what I'm doing and I've been here before and I remember thinking these things before. And then I mean, for me, I've been doing this for a good few years now. So I do have work that I can reflect back on, like, oh, I remember when I was working on this thing or this thing, I was feeling that same sense of despair. And then somehow I found my way through it. And, I have a catalog of things I can look back on and remind myself how hard it was and what I did to get out of it. Or I have folders of inspirations of other people's work or just things that inspire me that I can look at and be like, oh yeah, this is reminding me of, it gives me some spark or something that I can take with me that will kind of get me through those rough patches. And then usually after that, after I get over that little hump, things go a little smoother and I can kind of see it through to the end without too much stress.
It's interesting that you brought that up. I've talked about that before in my own creative process, that a lot of times on a piece, there's that moment where it's like, this is terrible, I hate it, blah, but that's also sort of become like, for me, like, if I once I hit that spot, I know it's going to be a good piece if I can get through, like you said, soldier through it. If I can keep working through it and deal with all those internal emotions and the freakouts that I'm having, then I know that I'm in a good spot with that piece, whatever it is, whether it's a painting, sculpture, tattoo, whatever project. But that's kind of become like not a warning sign, but some sort of like signage for me that I'm in the process and I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And even though it feels terribly uncomfortable, it's a really good spot to be.
Yeah.
And I don't always feel that, but then it's kind of like, maybe am I phoning that in then?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, you have to rely on your instincts sometime and just your own, like, just trusting yourself and trusting your process and like knowing that you've been in that place and that you made it work and not devaluing yourself as a person or as a creative, just saying like, just giving yourself some leeway to have that time out in the rough where you can allow yourself time to explore or allow yourself to feel bad about it and just say, well, that's just another little point on the map that I have to go to in order to get to where I need to be, and just not worrying about it or not holding it against yourself to going through that rough patch,
So, did you grow up in West Texas?
Yeah, I grew up in Abilene.
Okay.
Yeah, but I I was here until I think around 19 or 20, and then I moved to Austin for the first time. I lived in Austin a couple of times.
Okay.
Moved to Austin, and then I had no idea what I wanted to do. I've always been into music really heavily. So at the time, and I was DJing even as a teenager. I was DJing. I DJed for a very short time at the Upstairs Club. And so I knew that I wanted something to do with music. And then I started working in record shops for a long time. And I really liked working in record shops a lot. That was sort of my natural environment. And so I figured that naively as a kid, I thought that's just what I'm going to do. I'm just going to work in record shops. And then it kind of got, like maybe I'll work at record labels or something. So I tried that and I hated it because it just felt like a sales job and it wasn't me. I'm not a salesperson at all. And then I just got inspired to make music. So I was really influenced by British music at the time. So I decided to go to study sound production in England. So I went to school in Manchester, England, in the 90s, and studied over there, and and did that for a long time and that kind of led to my first band, which was the Earlies, with Brandon, and
the Earlies was a band. I mean, you guys had lots of different members that were kind of spread out, if I remember right.
Yeah, so the core of the band, like the way we started out, there was four of us. I mean, honestly, the way we started out, there was two of us. When we just thought early, it was me and my friend Giles, who we thought it was just going to be this sort of weird instrumental electronic thing. And then while we were sort of gestating some ideas, I was kind of going back and forth between Manchester and Abilene because my visa would run out. I'd run out of money. So I'd always come back to Abilene and save money and get back again. And one of the times I was back over here, I met Brandon he was working at CD Warehouse. And I was looking at a Flaming Lips CD, and he came over and he said, "Oh, that's a good album." And I was like, "Yeah, it is a good album. I know." And I was just kind of shocked that, somebody in Abilene had good taste in music. So we started talking, and then inevitably he was at a band called the Danes at the time. And I had a couple of random things I had been involved with up to that point. So we started talking about our respective projects. And then I was like, well, I've got these instrumental songs that I've been working on that I don't really know exactly what to do with. Maybe you can come over sometime and listen to them. And so he came over and just instantly, like he threw down some guitar that just really transformed a song that ended up becoming, one of this Early's biggest songs, which is Morning Wonder. Prior to his involvement, it was just an electronic instrumental, and he did the guitar, and then he did vocals for it, and that's when it actually became a real song, as real as that song could ever be. So, and that's sort of how the Earlies got started. Like I took that stuff back to England to the other guys, and then we had another guy, Christian Madden, who, interestingly enough, is now touring with Oasis. He's a keyboardist for Oasis.
Cool. Very cool.
So, but Christian's our live orchestrator, so he handles like putting our live shows together. So, so it was the four of us. But then Christian, organizing the live show, was adamant that we weren't going to just use backing because we have so much stuff that we do, lots of samples, lots of recorded instruments that I would go into the studio and cut up and put over the songs. And he didn't want to use computers to replicate that live. So we ended up creating this live band, which is 11 people. So we, during the early 2000s, we went on the road with 11 people and we're playing shows mostly in Europe and England.
And you guys played Glasgow? More than once, I think, right?
We played Glasgow a couple of times, yeah. I know we played a show at King Tut's. That's the only one I remember. But, we played a couple of shows.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you said you're doing a reunion show for one night.
Yeah, in October, there's the label that we were signed to. They're called Names Records. They're based in London, and they have sort of a label showcase. They're putting on a few different acts that they put out around that time, around 2000, between 2004 and 2006 maybe. So we're on that bill with these two other bands, King Creosote and Alayla Diane. And yeah, we're just doing that one show. Christian got a little time off from touring with Oasis, so he's he's helping us organize that and put it all together.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
That'll be really cool.
Yeah.
And then how did you get involved with Mean?
So Mean, actually, that stems from the earlies. On our second album, we needed a sitar player. So there's a friend of mine named Rishi Deer, he's Canadian. He lives in Montreal. He was touring with one of his bands, and I think they opened for the earlies, maybe. I wasn't. I mean, it's sort of a long story. I wasn't touring. I stopped touring with the earlies at one point because I had some other music projects going on that I got involved with. But I think during that hiatus, Rishi's band opened up for the earlies, and he's a sitar player. So some of the earlies asked him to play sitar for us on this one song. So he came in and played. And then I met Rishi at an early show around 2005, I think. Maybe 2006. I think it was 2005. And we hit it off and started talking about our musical influences and what excited us. And we just kept in touch. And we, at one point, a couple of years after that, he had posted a song by the band The Association from the 60s that I really like. And it was like sort of an obscure deep cut off one of their albums that I didn't think anybody else knew. And he posted it, and I wrote him like, oh my God, I love this song. And I had actually had thoughts about covering it for the earlies. So everything's connected. So I was just like, oh my God, it's so funny you should post that song, because I want to do a cover of this song. We should do this cover. So he was really excited about the prospect. So he recorded some sitar for that song. And we started talking about it, and it never sort of materialized for the earlies. Like we just realized it was probably never going to work. So, but we had those parts, and we had that sort of connection moving forward. And then over the years, there were two other components for me. And there was this guy, Tom, who was in a band called The Horrors, Horrors,
Okay.
not Horrors. And then there's another guy, Alex Moss, who sings in a band, the Black Angels, who are in Austin. So Rishi had done work with both of those bands, and so knew Tom and Alex. So somehow we got it in our head. Oh, and I went to Black Angel when I was living in Rochester. I went to a Black Angel show in Buffalo, New York, and met Alex for the first time, and saw Rishi there, and sort of caught up with him. So I think because of that meeting in Buffalo, we really started thinking like, oh, we should really think about doing something, because I had this one song that Rishi had played bass on that I had been working on. So just for fun, I gave this song to Rishi. I was like, oh, you should play bass on this. So we had this one song that sounded pretty promising. And so we were like, Alex should do a vocal for this song. And that turned into our first song that's called Black Habit, that's on our first album. And we just did that one song, and then it went really well. It went really smoothly. So we're like, oh, we should maybe think about doing another song. And I had a few other ideas laying around that I gave to them, and then they started sending ideas around, and so we all just started circulating stuff, and then that turned into an album. And we got a deal with a label in the UK called Rocket Recordings around 2017, I think. And then they put out our first album, and it kind of just all went from there.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
When you play this West Coast tour with Mean, how many stops will you make?
I think we're only doing 5 or 6 this time. We are not doing it's not a headlining tour. We're opening for a band called the Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, and which is nice because that means that it's a little more relaxed. We don't have to worry about promoting the shows as much. We are doing our own headlining show in LA on September 18th. So just basically in a couple of weeks, exactly a couple of weeks. So 2 weeks today. So, but other than that, we're just opening for this other band. So we're playing a few shows in California, and then, just moving up north from there and going up to Vancouver. And
very cool. And then you'll come back home for a little bit before you head over to
I have like
London.
a week after that where I can get ready for the early show and then fly out to London for that.
Very cool. So I find it interesting because most of the time, well, from what I'm hearing from you is that you spend most of your time, in your own home, in your own studio, kind of just working John Mark style. But yet a lot of musically anyway, a lot of this work is very collaborative, very collaborative. So,
Yeah.
like for you, what's the difference? What do you like more? Talk to me a little bit about how, on the one hand, you're a solitary artist, but on the other hand, you're known for a lot of great work that's been done with others.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. There's a balance there that I'm always striving to keep. I do like working on my own, and I like working in my own space. And like if I was in a traditional band where we were always recording together and writing songs together, that would be really weird to me because that was never how I operated, even with the earlies back in the day. Like, I mean, that was the most non-traditional setup that I can imagine because and that was almost, I mean, it wasn't pre-internet, but it was the early days of the internet when it started. And there, it was during dial-up for sure. So, I'd have floppy disks of sounds or DAT, I had a DAT machine, which is like a DAT tape, it's like digital tape. So I would record things on digital tape and mail it to wherever I was. If I was in England, I would mail it home or mail it back to England if I was here. And then when Brandon got involved here in Abilene, I had this huge sampler, a piece of equipment, from my studio that I would actually take with me on the plane with all these floppy disks. And I would go back to England and take all my sampler and all these floppy disks back to England and take it back over there and work on stuff over there. So we never wrote as a band. Really, there were a couple of moments on the first album where we were in the studio together. Like Brandon didn't even meet the rest of the band until our first album, their earliest album, was almost finished.
Wow.
So, but when we managed to fly Brandon over and he met the band and we had studio time booked, that's when we did a few things that kind of resembled a normal traditional band. Then, like we'd all be in the room together and be recording things and ideas and say, oh yeah, that's good, or no, that's not working, which is kind of nice. It was nice to change it up and hear things where you don't have to like send things off and wait a week before you hear anything back, And it's easier to communicate, of course, because you're in person and it's a live experience. Whereas at times when you're on your own in your own space, you have to sort of conceptualize things and try to communicate them and hope that the other person understands what you're talking about. I mean, sometimes it's good that they don't understand what you're talking about because sometimes what they do is better, and you're getting something, better to put down. But so yeah, to answer your question, like I do like both scenarios, but I just have to find a way to make it, since I'm in Abilene and no one else that I work with is in Abilene. Except for Brandon, which we're not really active recording right now, but everyone else I work with, it lives elsewhere. So I'm just used to sending things off into the ether and seeing what comes back and hoping for the best. I think sometimes that lends itself to a better result, and sometimes it doesn't. It kind of depends what the work is and what you're hoping to achieve. And there are times where I'll wait till we're, mean or rehearsing for a live show or something. So we'll start hashing out some ideas during rehearsals. And a few of our songs have come to fruition through just kind of playing around. When we're rehearsing our albums, we'll start playing around with ideas and we'll be like, oh, this is actually, whatever we're noodling around on in between songs sounds kind of good. So we'll get our phones out and record what we're doing, and new songs will start that way. And they're usually different. Like it's a different end result when we start that way. Like they're more traditional songs where, like, if you listen to our album, some things sound more like production pieces, that they sound a little more electronic in nature, like how an electronic piece would sound. Those are usually started in the studio, whereas things that have more an organic feel, or some maybe actually have an actual verse and chorus, a lot of times those will start, organically when we're together.
That's cool. Do you have your own process when you're trying to come up with a new song and you're by yourself in your studio? Are there things that you do, or how do you kind of get inspired to start something new?
I don't really have a set process, but usually it starts with, which is I think I work visually and with audio in the same way, which is I'll just take little pieces of things and just start messing around with them. Like if I've been given a folder of vocals and drums, like I'll start by just taking little snatches of drum loops or maybe a whole take of drums, but sometimes just little bits of drums. And then I'll do the same with vocals, and I'll start adding my own pieces to those. And I just kind of start in small little sections and kind of piece things together and build it out. And I try not to get too carried away with what I'm doing. Like I'll come up with some ideas or some basic structures, and then I'll before I get too far down into the hole with that, I'll send it off to the others and let them do their stuff, and then they'll send it back to me, and then I start building on what I had done before with the new parts and just kind of building it out that way. But there's not really one set way, but it usually involves me just sort of tearing things down. Like sometimes I've had almost what sound like full songs sent to me, and then I'll sort of tear all that down into real basic elements and sort of rebuild it in a different way. Because usually if somebody sends me something, they know that that's what I'm going to do. Like they don't want to keep it intact. Like they want a new take on something, like a demo that they've done or something that they're maybe kind of tired of it the way it sounds. So they'll send it to me to break it down and sort of restructure it in some way.
Interesting. So you're a little bit of an autopsyist.
Yeah. I like tearing it all apart and seeing what's going on underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you looking for something when you're doing that, or are you just trying to isolate various sounds?
I think for me, initially, it's just trying to find the thing that excites me about it. Like I can hear their demo, and there's something about it that sparks ideas or my imagination, but it's not there as it is at that point. So I have to kind of basically dig through it and find that thing that excites me. Sometimes I know right off the bat, like I'll hear like, either a melody or it's just some sort of little vocal line or something that excites me. And I can hear things that I don't care for as much or don't sound like, because I tend to be the producer for any given project I'm involved with, just naturally, because that's my background. I come from a background of being in the studio and sampling and doing more production stuff. So I can hear a basic element that excites me, and I just have to sort of dig that out and sort of build on that or do something with it or take things away that I know are not going to work or don't really sound like in the case of Mean, like they don't sound like Mean in my mind. So I'll take those things out and highlight the thing that does and start doing the thing that I do, which is either playing some keyboards or playing some sound. I have folders and folders of sounds that I play with that I sample and start playing around with that stuff. And sometimes it's very deliberate. Like I'll have an idea of like, oh, this needs this, but more often than not, I don't really have any idea about what I'm going to do. I just sit down with it and start playing. And that's my favorite time in the process is just playing and experimenting. And, I can throw things at it that seem like they would never work in a million years. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But oftentimes I can find a way to sort of twist things around where they do work in a way you wouldn't have imagined they'd work initially, but just through the act of cutting things up and like I said, twisting them around, like you could have some interesting, unexpected results, which is it's always fun. Yeah,
I like that. That's a good process. What are you finding for inspiration right now? Are you listening to specific bands, or I mean, where do you find inspiration?
Well, right now I'm mostly in video mode. I'm doing like what I'm doing musically is rehearsing for the Mean shows. So I don't really have musical inspirations I'm looking for or have set aside right now. I'm just sort of thinking more technically about what I have to do and making sure I have everything ready. But Yeah, I think right now I'm keeping more of a collection of visual inspirations, which are I mean, there's a lot of accounts I follow on Instagram of things that excite me. And then just random, like my YouTube algorithm knows me really well. So I have a lot of stuff that comes up on my YouTube feed that I save for references. A lot, just lots of great artists that I find from uh, some like vintage animation and things from, you know, experimental animation for the 40s or 50s or 60s. I really like a lot of psychedelic animation from the 60s, like Yellow Submarine-esque type stuff. And lots of, like artists that would scratch shapes onto film and paint on film and make little experimental animations that way. I like a lot of that stuff, which I try to sort of I always fail specifically things like that, like, like painting on film, like I try to emulate that digitally with what I do, and it doesn't really typically work. Animation stuff that I do is emulate sort of stop motion animation, which is typically the sort of aesthetic that I go for.
And that's very time consumptive.
It is, yeah, yeah. That's why I'm trying to veer more into doing short form videos these days. Like I was doing music videos for bands that are like 3 and 4 minutes, which I mean they generally only take me a month, but the bands that want me to do it are typically not bands that have a whole lot of money, so it's hard to find. Because because it takes me so long. Even if I can do it in a month, that's usually like I get obsessed with it. I'm working on it day and night. So like it's off-putting to do like a 4-minute video often if I'm not able to be paid, like for all that time, because it's almost like I'm losing money at that point, because that means I can't work on other projects. So I got to be careful of that. But so I'm I'm sort of more trying to focus on doing like 15 and 30-second animations for like social media and things like that, which I find are just as effective for people who, I mean, most people don't have an attention span long enough to sit down and watch, especially on Instagram or something like that. You typically, when you're scrolling around, you don't sit down and watch a 3 or 4 minute video. Doing these 30-second, maybe a minute long animations or edits or whatever I'm doing are just as effective, and they're better for me for time. They're better for the client, for their budget.
So you've been in and out of Abilene your whole life, and you're stationed here now. Do you have any plans on moving, or are you pretty content?
I'm never content. That's just what keeps things interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's no, but I'm always thinking about where I want to go to next. I haven't figured out where that place is. Otherwise, I probably would have already gone. I like being here. Like I can moan about Abilene pretty easily, but there are a lot of things I like about it. I mean, mostly like I have a really good base of friends here. Like I've obviously have a lot of history in Abilene, so I have friends here that keep me, if not content, they at least keep me from going crazy, which is valuable. But I'd like to live in England again. I lived in England on and off for 12 years, and I have friends over there that I'd really like to see more often. And I just there's something about England that inspires me, so I'd like to live over there again. But I have a house here, so I probably would keep my house and rent it out. And so I'm probably always going to have at least 1 foot in Abilene. So,
what are some things that you've noticed? I mean, we talk a lot about how Abilene's grown and changed and all the different things that are happening. And what are some things that you're really appreciative of that you've seen happen in your hometown?
That's a good question. I mean, the obvious first thing that comes to mind is just what Abilene has done with downtown. I remember it doesn't seem that long ago. Abilene downtown was like a ghost town. After 6 o'clock, it seems like even though I think it's probably wasn't quite as bad as I'm remembering, but it seems like after 6 o'clock, like all the lights shut off. No one was here, and it's just
crickets.
Yeah, and it almost felt intentional. Like you should be in your homes. You should not be thinking, of going out and being active in downtown Abilene. That's where bad things happen. But now, like it seems like it's really thriving, or at least in comparison to what it used to be. Like I really love all the local businesses that are thriving here, like Grain Theory and the Poorhouse and Vagabond Pizza, and what used to be the Local was great. And I love our new bookshop here and the Paramount, of course. And so downtown, things seem to happen very slowly in Abilene. But so it can be frustrating because you want to see developments happen, specifically before I die, because I'm not getting any younger. But you want to see some just some momentum, something going on. Like the soda district's coming along really nicely. Like they have the KAO lounge is open, and Abilene Beer Garden, places like that are seem to be doing really well. But I also like, oh man, I mean, there's some new neighborhoods popping up, which is good to see. Building a lot of new houses, tearing down some old houses that need to be torn down. There's a lot of areas of downtown that need some help. I live on the north side, which is kind of near like North Willis area, and I'd love to see more developments over there. I'm frustrated that that feels like a neglected part of Abilene. If anyone on the Abilene City Council is listening, I'd really love to see some money and some thought and some care put into the north side. I feel like it just seems forgotten. Like the south side gets all the attention, and then of course the area in northeast around Abilene gets a lot of attention, but just the north side seems woefully neglected, and you don't see much in the way of innovation or any sort of development over there. And I think that there's a lot of untapped potential in the north, and I think it needs to be shown as an area that can be vital to Abilene and is important to Abilene. There are a lot of people that live in that area, and I think a lot of great things could happen if it were given the time and the financial considerations.
Are you ever thinking about or considering like maybe opening your own studio that's open to, like, I don't want to say the public, but to work with other artists, or is that something that you do now?
I have those thoughts all the time, and then I remind myself that I don't want to be anchored to Abilene any more than I am. I mean, like I say, I like being here, and but I do also like being able to leave, or at least have the option to leave. So I'm careful to reel myself in when I start having those thoughts, because I see a lot of opportunities in Abilene. Like there's a lot of great architecture here. There's a lot of great buildings, and there's a lot of great artists here. Like the People's Plaza is home to a lot of great creatives in Abilene, and I like being a part of this community, and I like that there's a lot going on here and a lot of potential. But no, I myself am not looking to start my own business in any way here. But
Oh, fair enough.
never say never.
Never say never, John.
Because you're pretty much guaranteeing it will happen if you do.
Yeah. Be careful.
Yeah.
So, do you attend a lot of live music?
In Abilene or just in general?
In general?
Not really. Like I go to South by Southwest every year. I tend to do a DJ thing in Austin in March. There's some a San Antonio radio show called Music for Listeners. They always have a live event that they put on in Austin every year with live bands. So I tend to DJ there every March. So I do end up seeing some shows there. And then if I'm in England doing music stuff, I might go see, either in Manchester or London, I might go see some shows there. And I might see something while I'm on tour with Mean. But I mean, I don't really see much in Abilene. It seems like whenever we get someone really good here, I'm always out of town, which is unfortunate. So yeah, not as much as I'd like. But
Are there any local bands or acts that you're following?
Local bands. No.
Putting you on the spot, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm never good with coming up with things on the spot. But I don't think there are any local. I'm not so much of a live music. I mean, I'm not a huge live music fan. Like I do like going out to shows when it's a band that I really like.
Mm.
But I tend to be more of a home listener. Like I value more the recorded product over the live experience typically.
What's your favorite way to listen to music? Like an LP?
Yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
vinyl collector,
Yeah.
so I love listening to records. There's something, and it's not like one thing. It's not like, oh, because it sounds so much better, or I think there's just something about the intentionality of putting on a record, like going to your records, flipping through, like picking out something and holding it, touching it, the tactile experience, and then putting the record on, putting the needle on there, and like not just flipping around random, on shuffle, which is tragically is what I do when I'm on Spotify. But just sitting down, putting a record and sitting down and actually listening to it and having your attention, because you're connected to it more, because you're invested in it and connected to it in a way that you're not when you just hit play on your laptop or your phone or whatever. So definitely putting on albums.
What are some of your favorite albums in your collection?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot again.
Yeah, no. Top 3.
Oh man, that's even worse. I don't really have a top 3 anymore. I used to.
Is there something you could put on right now that you'd be happy to listen to?
I mean, there's so much.
What's on? What was the last thing you listened to? Maybe that's a better question.
The last record I listened to actually is one of my favorite records of all time. It's by a singer, Mark Hollis, who was a singer for the band Talk Talk in the 80s.
Okay.
They had a hit in the U.S. with It's My Life, you may remember. But when he had one solo album after Talk Talk broke up, that came out in the 90s, called The Color of Spring. Or I think my favorite song there is called The Color of Spring. The album might just be self-titled. But it's one of my favorite albums. Or he's one of my favorite singers, at least, Mark Hollis. So I listened to that last night while I was cooking dinner. But other than that, like, man, there's just so much. I listen to a lot of electronic music, like instrumental electronic stuff. And then I listen to a lot of ambient music, and I listen to like a lot of old jazz. Like I'm really into Miles Davis and Alice Coltrane. And I listen to a lot of 80s stuff. I'm still into 80s music, like electronic or new wave or alternative 80s music. And listen to a lot of like singer-songwriter stuff, some folk music from the 60s up to modern day. A lot of eccentric British artists like Kate LeBon, or American singer-songwriters like Jessica Pratt. Electronic music. Yeah, it's just all over the shop, really.
That's good. I like that. So you've got some tours coming up, a trip to London coming up at the end of October. Any other big projects that you've got between now and the end of the year?
I'm doing these spots for the Night Flight channel, and I'm doing the KUTX design work for their show, and I'm actually, after the early show, there is sort of a great big black void, which I'm really excited about, where there's nothing exists at the moment, except for I am starting to work on a short film, like my first live action short film that I'm going to hopefully shoot with a group of people next year.
Very cool.
So I'm going to start working on that more after the earlies show. But other than that, like as of now, not a whole lot lined up, which is scary, because that's my work. That's my job.
Yeah, it's tough to find security as an artist.
It really is. I'm about ready to find a real job again, and and just sort of rely on that. And do my own stuff just on the side.
Mm.
Is what I used to do.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, if our audience wants to know more about you, your website, splitconstellation.com,
Splitconstellation.com.
is a great place to get in touch with you and see some of your work and
Yeah.
know more about that.
Yeah, or I'm just on Instagram, just John Mark Lapham, my name.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me there.
Lots of cool stuff. I follow you. There's always you're always posting interesting work.
Thanks.
I
That's
like it.
very
Do you
kind
have
of
any
you.
questions for me or for the channel?
Let's see. You're an amazing tattoo artist.
Thanks, John.
I've discovered. Are you doing tattoos at the moment? Or are you focusing on other mediums?
Yeah, still tattooing. Got some good pieces I'm working on. Some great clients right now.
Are there any designs that you can talk about that you're working, like anything?
Let's see. I've got a client that I've had for over a decade now, Remy Lacasio. He's a realtor in town, and I've tattooed a large amount of his body. And we started this year doing a piece that starts on his shin and goes all the way up his whole side and on his back, and it's an octopus, and each tentacle is holding an object. So there's like a steampunk heart and a broken skull, and we've got the eye of the octopus on the thigh. And after 8 months, that's about as far as we've gotten so far, because he's not a small guy either. He's a large man. But we intend to continue to go up and do some more things, like a cutlass and some keys and a couple other fun things like that. That's a fun piece. Just to have that much room on a canvas to play with, and a lot of artistic freedom to do that. That's been a lot of fun. But I've got some other fun clients that are kind of starting some things, and yeah, that's a fun thing. And before the show, I think I mentioned Bonnie and I were in Tulsa, and I got to play with clay for the first time. Like I'm familiar with clay, but on a wheel, on a potter's wheel, to do that was my first experience, and I'm really excited to play with that some more. And it just felt really good in my hands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it was
can
really
see
weird.
that. I can see that with what you do. I can see that translating well into working.
Yeah, it's like
in that
pressure and
medium.
touch, but like, I don't know, that was interesting. And then we also got to play with Cyanotype, and I went to Hobby Lobby yesterday, no Cyanotype, so I ordered some, and then whenever that gets here, I have a bunch of things I want to explore with that, and that was new to me also. Cyanotype's really interesting. 2-part, mix it together, coat it on your paper, fabric, whatever, and then the sun exposes it, so you can place objects on top. A lot of times you'll see floral arrangements and stuff like that, and then the sun exposes it, brings that brilliant blue cyan out, and yeah, it's really kind of neat. That's so fun. So I'm gonna play with that some more. We've got the podcasts going on. We've got lots more clients, or lots more guests coming in. New faces, some familiar faces. Danny James and Berner are going to play a show at the Cotton Warehouse October 25th, I think, an album release party, and I'll probably have a small hand in that. If nothing else, just be an encouragement. My son's band, Cash and the Change, is playing somewhat regularly around here. They've got some shows coming up. The Big Time Bash in Baird, October 18th, I think, is when that's at, and they're playing a show in San Antonio.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm here basically for my daughter, who's a senior at Abilene High, to make sure that she has a great last year. And I don't know that I'm going to fly the coop anytime soon, but I'm definitely seeking, like yourself, I'm seeking other things that might pay the bills and keep me creative and occupy my hands and my mind and my heart.
It's a
Always
worthwhile
something.
endeavor for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts that you want to share with us as we start to wrap this up?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty satisfied.
Good. Well, it was good to get to know you. I hope our audience enjoyed this. If you did, please like and subscribe. Follow us. Travi Wavi, always going to bring you a great conversation pit with wonderful characters from the storybook capital of America. Thank you, Sam Wolf, producer extraordinaire, for always doing a great job and making me look good up here on stage. And thanks to our live audience for being here today. Thanks for watching. And you're always welcome to come down. We start these around 10:30 on Thursday mornings every week. So please show up, grab a cup of coffee next door at Majestic Coffee Shop. They serve Onyx coffee, which is the best coffee. Just letting you know, it is the best. Not only in Abilene, but probably in the lower 48. Anyway, that's, I think, all I got for this week. John Mark, thank you so much for joining me and sharing of yourself. And we're going to continue to watch your career and listen to me and listen to the earlies.
Thanks, Travis.
Yeah,
I appreciate you asking me to come on.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. And signing off from Travi Wavi. Have a good one.